an equitable, just, trusted, transparent data treatment. And for that, I think government, and this is my speaking, should be aligned and comply to certain standards, and there are ongoing discussion, and be aware of how we should not but govern the whole system infrastructure around the data. So I'll stop at that to pass the word.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'll start by introducing myself. My name is Florence Kinyua, and I work as an advisor with GIZ, wearing two hats. So I work with Fair Forward, and I also work with DTC. And at Fair Forward, we look at AI in three different areas. So we look at policy advocacy. We work with policy makers to ensure that we are advocating for responsible and ethical AI. We look at also capacity. So we want to see, is there, in the countries that we operate in, is there know-how on how to deal with AI? And then we also look at AI use cases and contribution to digital public goods. And then in DTC, we work with our partner, who is the government of Kenya, and our objective is to help them enhance their public service delivery. So when it comes to sovereignty, digital and data sovereignty, so when we look at AI, it has three major building blocks. So there is data, there is compute, and there is the capacity. And I would say sovereignty is us looking at what is the level of ownership do we have for those three building blocks. So what is the level of ownership do we have for the data centers and the infrastructure that power AI? What is the level of ownership we have on the models that have been built? What is the level of ownership we have on the skills that work on this AI? And so it is our ability to say that we can make decisions about how our intelligence is gathered, how our data is collected, how it is governed, and also, most importantly, how that intelligence is monetized, and whether that intelligence actually solves our African problems.
Hello, my name is Hatem Haddad. I'm professor at the university. I have more than 25 years of experience across Europe, Middle East, and Africa. I work on natural language processing and speech recognition with application on African languages and Arabic dialects. In one sentence, sovereignty for me means taking control of our digital destiny. That means data, but also that includes software that we create, the hardware that we rely on, so that African people can shape their digital future and also benefit from their digital resources.
Thank you so much, Hatem. Thanks, Imen, and thanks, Florence. I think you sort of nicely touched on different aspects that we'll sort of drill into now as we go into the discussion. And I would like to start with policy. I mean, we know that policy regulation really have a crucial role to play to sort of create the enabling conditions for, we talked about, you talked about ecosystems, Imen, for African AI ecosystems to thrive. At the same time, for stakeholders, for entrepreneurs, for developers to build the kind of products and services that then serve African publics, African societies. And if we look at the policy landscape so far, I mean, there are different counts, but the latest one that I found is that 16 countries on the continent have national AI strategy, and a little bit fewer of those have AI policies that are adopted. We cannot talk about all of these, but I would like to talk a little bit about the one in Kenya, maybe to start with. And in your role as advisor with GIZ Fair Forward, you've also supported the development of the national AI strategy in Kenya, which was developed in April of this year. And it has quite an ambitious strategic objective or vision, which is to position Kenya as a regional leader in AI research and development, in innovation, and in commercialization for inclusive socio-economic development. And Florence, I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about, how the Kenyan AI strategy aims to foster Kenya's AI ecosystem, and then also. I was quite intrigued. One of the guiding principles in the strategy actually calls for a local first approach. And I had the question, does local first mean that Kenya wants to do this alone?
Yeah, thank you. That's a good question. So when we were working on building and developing our national AI strategy, one of the things that we were very cognizant of is that we need to ensure that that strategy speaks for every Kenyan. So we needed to look for a very consultative approach. We needed to take a very consultative approach. And the way we did that is that we had a panel of advisors and a working group that was not just tech people. In fact, it had very few tech people. We went out and looked at different sectors. If it is government, different agencies within government, whether it's judiciary, whether it's finance, agriculture. We went out, we got lawyers, we got people from media, we got people from health sector. We wanted this to be an all-inclusive. It's like coming up with an orchestra. You have all these instruments, but every instrument is doing something different. And we needed the people in healthcare to tell us what is the most pressing need here. The people in agriculture to say what is the most pressing need here. And then we bring all this together and we come up with a draft. And then again, we went back, but this time round, not really to the experts, but to the users. So we did town halls across the country. It was very important for us to go out of Nairobi. So Nairobi is a capital city, but then we went out to the rural areas. We got farmers, we got students, we got people to come and sit down, and we would explain to them at their level what it is that we are thinking of doing, and we would listen for feedback. So we would have people living with disability saying, you haven't considered the aspect of assistive technology. And then we would go back and redo the strategy again, because we wanted this to be local first. And by local first, what we meant here is that we needed it to be relevant to Kenya. So our local first approach was looking at what are our most pressing needs, what is actually relevant to Kenya. And I think this is what would go across Africa. We do not want to look at just, there are very many beautiful things that AI can do, but they are the ones that we really need as a country, the one that we really need as Africa. They may not be all those beautiful things that are being built elsewhere, because our problems differ. In a panel before, they were actually talking about how even when you talk about responsible AI, it changes for every culture. So we needed to look at what is our culture, what are our needs in healthcare, what are our needs in education, what are our needs in food security. It's a big issue that we need to tackle, and we can use AI to tackle that for now. So our local first approach was more of not that Kenya wants to do it alone. No, we cannot do it alone, but that we need it to be relevant to the local context.
Thank you, Florence. So basically a national AI strategy in Kenya that is tailored to the specific needs, to the specific challenges, but also to the specific imaginations that Kenyans have in particular. Iman, I'd like to come to you. You're a senior researcher with the United Nations University, and if any of you are wondering what the UNU is, as me, we had a chat over lunch, and I learned it's a little bit of like a think tank within the UN system. Within that work, you've led several projects on digital governance here in Tunisia and elsewhere, and more recently, and that's why what I wanted to ask you is you've investigated the parliamentary AI legislation process in Egypt, which has led to the revision of Egypt's national AI strategy, which is now in its second edition and was launched this year in September. And the vision is inclusive AI to foster digital Egypt. Now, I was wondering if you could share a little bit with us some insights from your research, and what role does regulation play in Egypt to foster thriving and sovereign AI?
Thank you. So I think same as the process that Florence mentioned, the relevance of the use case of AI parliamentary the AI Act and the whole observation of the parliamentary process of drafting the AI bill presented lots of lesson learned for relevant, and I think join me in that because it's relevant for a specific Arab region, since it was in a specific aspect of Africa, especially Arab-speaking countries. And the relevance is at linguistic level, but also at the way how the regulation was made. Egypt is at their second edition of national AI strategies. And this process came after a large year of consultation and a list of prioritization. It's interesting to see because working with the parliamentary level is working with people who are a bit AI agnostic, in a way that they are the policy makers and decision makers, though they are not the technical experts. They have already the support of technical expertise on the legal side, but the process of building having the appetence to understand the use of AI and prioritizing the use cases on education, health, and agriculture, and was highlighted through the process of consultation they conducted on the ground. I think they would not understand what is the sensitivity and the relevance of addressing certain use of AI in certain area if they didn't went into the consultation with the national NGOs to understand, okay, if we shall apply AI to the health sector, what are the risks? What are the ethics? What are the guardrails? And this is where we tackle sovereignty and we tackle trust and the responsible use of AI. And I think there are two relevant elements to learn from is the tiered compliance risk model they built. So they understood that there are different levels of risk which will be serving and allowing a certain area for innovation. So we don't, while making the process of regulating AI, we won't close completely and say, no, we won't apply AI to health sector. We won't apply AI to agri sector where we have lack of digital literacy among farmers. But understanding, okay, maybe we have lesson learned to apply AI for agri sector. And Hudhud AI app was one of the prototype that they understood from that use cases, how we can build an inclusive AI, taking into account people who have low digital literacy, who will be manipulated and put in their data, and understanding the layers and the prioritization of risk of how we can use AI in that case. Of course, on the health sector, it's more critical and more sensitive. And it is worth also to look at this case of AI use at health. But this created glossaries and lots of lesson learned for other countries who are willing to start working on their AI strategies on where to start and how to do it. And the other aspect, which is the linguistic part, is working on the Arab languages. Because when we speak about, I'm not a technician and I don't have a technical background, but I think when we speak about developing LLM and large language model, like understanding the existing data in dialect, even within Arab country, but with dialect is quite complex and sensitive. And having this linguistic sensitivity in the model will help capture elements that within the data that will allow us to address inclusion and propose a human-centered product, human-centered use of AI that will be reflected within the legislation, and also presenting use cases where we should preserve or protect the users' rights and the users' data. The third element is the interesting the regional alignment. And I think Egypt process was using a hybrid model that it looked at the GDPR as EU alignment, since there is a geopolitical also interest and economic interest of being open to the EU market, so towards the e-commerce and the whole innovation ecosystem, but also keeping the specificity and the local and the sovereignty of using data. And I think this hybrid model of using double alignment to the EU and US model will maybe, from my perspective, will create a unique model that we can use as a regional model for the region, so it can create and multiply the opportunities, not to close completely under the panacea of sovereignty, because sovereignty can be misunderstood, and that's why multilateralism is important. So we can have guardrails, we can create innovation, we can regulate, and we can keep control and ownership over our data use and data processing, if we have this key enablers and key component that we look at, and we are, let's say, the specificity of this innovating while regulating while innovating. So building this knowledge while doing things.
Thanks, Imen, and thanks particularly for that last point. In a way, looking at the balance between regulation and innovation, because the two are often pitted against each other, like they're on two polar ends. And I think that is a bit of a false binary, because you can regulate for responsible innovation in a way. And I found it quite interesting what you said about, well, firstly, that also the Egyptian AI strategy is really tailored to look at, in what sectors in Egypt does it make sense, opportunities for AI to make a positive difference. At the same time, then also looking at, what are they doing in the US? What are they doing in Europe? Like, what of those aspects are also relevant for Egypt, where you can maybe take bits and pieces to create what you call this hybrid approach. And you also created the perfect bridge now to Hatem, because I'd like to talk a little bit about infrastructure in a way, because often we talk about AI like it's detached, like it's its own little thing that operates without, just by itself. But technically we know that AI only operates if the infrastructure that it's built on is available, but also accessible. And that relates to the data, of course, that relates to models, that relates to compute, and then of course to the experts and the talents who work with that. And at the same time, the data and the models, and this relates to what you said, Imen, in terms of African languages, the data and the models need to represent the regional context, the local, the national contexts. And to give you an example, if we look at African languages, they make up, and Hatem, you told us that over lunch, African languages make up 0.01% of the data that popular large language models are built on. And large language models are the models that your ChatGPT, your Claude, your Gemini, and so on run on. That means, these models do not represent African languages, and that becomes a challenge. At the same time, access to compute, especially when we talk about cloud compute and credits, can become very expensive and hard to get. So Hatem, to you, from you, I would like to hear, you're a research director at Manuba University. You are board member of Masakhane, the Pan-African community of NLP, of African language AI scientists. You also sit on the steering committee of the newly launched Masakhane African Languages Hub. And I would like to hear from you, what does sovereignty in AI infrastructure mean, and how does it enable the kind of regional collaboration and innovation that Masakhane stands for?
Thank you. So maybe I need to introduce Masakhane for the audience in 2 words. So Masakhane is a Pan-African grassroots initiative founded in 2019 with the focus of creating digital tools for African languages. So it brings together researchers, academicians, students, people from the startup ecosystem to build together data and models. So from Masakhane point of view or perspective of sovereignty, for us, it's like building an African AI ecosystem that is owned, controlled. So it goes through data ethically, taking into consideration the African diversity, the African culture, the African values, and also building the talents and the skills, the people that will use this data to create models that must be relevant for the African context in terms of problems. So agriculture, education, healthcare, Africa has its own context, and the models should be aligned with this, that we will create, should be aligned with these problems. When it comes to compute, we know it's very, very expensive, and our philosophy is to share. So Mazakan, as a word, it's a Zulu word from South Africa that means we build together. And the idea started that as Africans, we need to create solutions by Africans for Africans. That's why everything. So when we talk about African languages, it's always associated with low resource. It's low resource data, but also low resource in money. And our philosophy, if I want to summarize, it will be sharing resources, local control, and collaboration. I think the main word in Africa should be between academicians, but also industry part, startups. And creating also, so what the idea is also to teach the new generation of African developers or startups about sharing the data. The panel before was about open resource. One of the questions is, are we afraid of open? At Mazagani, no, we think that we need to do something, first step, and this first step should be open source. That's why at Mazagani, everything is open source. Whatever is it, the models, the data, etc.
Thank you, Hatem. I like what you said about, what does sovereign AI infrastructure mean for Mastercard? It means that there's some sense of control and agency over how it's being used, but it's also about collaborating and it's about sharing. And you brought in open source, which is the perfect lead to Florence. I wanted to ask you, and for full transparency, for 3 years in the same project, and that within FairForward you use open source to make AI data models and also systems and software more accessible, more inclusive, and more trustworthy. And there've been, for those of you who have been following the debates around open source and AI, they've been quite heated debates what exactly it means. Does it mean that the data has to be open? What about open weights models? And all these kind of debates. There's a definition by the Open Source Initiative that you can look at if you're interested. But Florence, I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit from FairForward's experience and from working with partners like Mastercard and others, why open source and how does open source in AI benefit entrepreneurs and other stakeholders in African AI ecosystems, and how does it maybe also challenge them in a way?
Yeah. So when it comes to open source and why we advocate for it is, especially in the technology space, we have really, I would say all of us have really benefited from open source technology and open source models. And so when we work with our partners, one of the things that we encourage them to do is to see how they can contribute to open source. So when they are working on the AI projects and maybe they are collecting data or they are building models or use cases, we encourage them to look at what component of what you're doing can be open sourced. And the reason for this is that, one, we know that AI, especially when you talk about gathering data or collecting data, it's really resource intensive. And we do not want that every other partner we don't want every other partner to start from scratch, because then we don't actually grow. Everybody just starts at the, there's like a starting point, and all of you have to all come here. So we encourage them to look at what aspect of what you have done, of the innovation that we have supported you with, can be open sourced. Is it the data? Is it the model? What is it you can give? But then the challenge there is that, very honest, people have to make money. We have to make money. We have to ensure that, the partners that we work with, the startups, the innovators, we have to ensure that they have a business model that is sustainable. So somehow, somewhat, we do not impose that everything you do must be open source. We also want to work with you to see what business model, what hybrid model can we come up with, so that whereas you have something that is open source, you also have a way to make money. And an example is, we worked with a company called Local Research Development Institute, and they were developing an early warning system, a computer vision model that is able to predict crop yield, diagnose diseases, and they collected data for over 2 years. And this would be images of crops. And collection of those images of crops is really resource intensive. It takes a lot of time, because you have to do it for this planting period all the way to harvesting, but then you also need to do it for another planting period. So it takes a long time. It is resource intensive. So when we looked at the model, then they build after, and the application that they put in the hands of the farmers. So we were looking at it and seeing what here can be made open source, but then again, what can enable this business to be sustainable in that it is making money. And so, as much as they made open the data that they collected and the annotated data that they collected, there were some other aspects of the work that they did, which actually included something that is very innovative, which was the relationship they had built with the farmers, because they did this with a farmer-first approach. They built this with the farmer from the beginning. So that trust and relationship they had already built with the farmer, they found a way that this can also be a business model for us, while we make a component of this solution open.
Thanks, Florence. So also, coming back to the point that I made earlier in the provocation, to say that openness and open source can create capacity to collaborate and also to innovate and to go far together. And if you're interested, we can talk about that more later. Iman, I'd like to come to you now, because you have some ongoing research into data localization in different African countries, Kenya, South Africa, Morocco, and others. And I'd like to ask you, data localization, what is it? Why is it important? I mean, isn't all data online anyway?
Thank you. Actually, it's important to raise the question of data localization, because it's not isolated from a whole ecosystem, as I mentioned. So if we want to initiate to localize data in the sense of creating or producing data registries and having the enablers to build this framework for regulating, and how government should already think about putting these registries, is part of a whole ecosystem that is linked to the digital government frameworks also of a country. So in this study, for example, where we look at 6 countries, we can see some discrepancies and misalignment, where we can see like a good best achiever and a gap where there is in some countries observation like Togo and inexisting data frameworks, or for example data legislation that is not looking at elements about how what kind of international cooperation and how data exchange is framed and regulated. And I think there is a dilemma. It's important to maintain this inclusion that we have shared data. And I think this is important, that we cannot be completely closed. And okay, localizing is good, but in order even to build a regional registry or regional African data framework, we need already to create a cross-border data exchange among African countries. And for that, it doesn't mean that we should close completely or not share, but it's deciding and have an initiative at the policy level on what do we want to share and how it should be done and how we should label things. And that's why I see the relevance of Egypt case, where we think about tiered compliance, a tiered risk model, and also tiered compliance model. We can like see that a certain way of sharing data under certain certificate standards is important. And I think this is the observation of 6 countries already give us a first conclusion that we should already think about a regional model, and also to look at create a certain sub-regional alignment among like a youth institution like African Union, East Africa Community, or North Africa institution, where countries start already thinking about a bilateral exchange in a way of securing among each other their data, working on their national cybersecurity strategy. So at least when we secure our access to data, we can be able to think how we think about sharing it and the format that we want to share. And also thinking about example like Tunisia or Morocco, where we have some legislation about national cloud or government cloud existing that allows to decide of sort of a model or a strategy or a policy about their strategy about data cooperation with hyperscalers and the way how they want to define their market and the data market organization. And this is at the first level, the way how we should maybe frame and think the question of thinking data localization. Of course, the linguistic aspects are important because in an absence of glossaries and dictionaries, I must say, of data is important, but I think Hatem has already mentioned the other challenges that related to the cloud access. So we cannot blame that we don't have an existing data if we don't have access to electricity resources and connectivity. So, and this is why the idea of thinking as this as a whole government approach. So we should not work only on data, but data protection and data frameworks are part of a big ecosystem that should be included in national digital governance strategies and digital security strategies. Like it's not an isolated aspect. And I think also the capacity building of government are quite misaligned. So government like South Africa and Nigeria are really advanced, while others have immersion initiatives. And I think we can have lots of lessons learned if we create this exchange and build more regional cooperation.
No, thanks, Iman. And I think, yeah, Hatem, I'll come to you just now. I think Iman, you touched on a lot of sort of really important aspects when it comes to data localization. One aspect being, how does the data governance of, if I can call them national data assets, look like? Languages being one of them, but then also, it's not just about being like national, but it's also about being regional and cooperative and looking at things like standards, looking at what kind of frameworks are there for data sharing and frameworks for data protection and all of that. Talking about collaboration, I'd like to, and I'm also looking a little bit at the time, like to talk a little bit about partnerships because, as we've now heard, data sovereignty, digital sovereignty doesn't mean that each country does it by themselves, but it's very much about collaboration and about partnerships. And partnerships between public and private sector, like here in Innovation City, but also with academia, with civil society and others. And Hatem, I'd like to come to you because you've been working with and for the Masakhane for the last few years. And initially, when I was sharing our questions with Hatem, with everyone, I wrote that Masakhane is a network of 1,000 NLP scientists across Africa, which I already thought was quite impressive. And then Hatem corrected me and said, no, Daniel, it's actually 3,500 NLP, so African language AI scientists across the continent. So that's super impressive. It really exemplifies, I think, collaboration and the value of that. and this the value in working together towards creating the foundations for making digital products, for making digital services accessible in all African languages at some point. And I was just wondering, because working in such a big community is very impressive, but I'm sure it's also not easy all the time. So I'm wondering, if you could share with us a bit about what the secret sauce is, what makes this kind of collaboration, this kind of partnership work successfully, and if there's maybe a highlight from the work of Masakhane that you could share that would not have been possible without this kind of big community.
Okay. Yeah, I don't work for Masakhane. I'm volunteering at Masakhane. We are all volunteers there. And this is the idea about collaboration and cooperation, is to give, it's like giving back to Africa. So, Africa needs talents, needs infrastructure, but needs also some seniors to come and give guidance. And that's the strength of Masakhane, is the community. And the idea, as I said, it started 2019 with a Slack channel. When someone has an idea, will come and say, okay, I would like to build data about Tunisian dialect. Some people will jump into the projects, they will work together, and a few months later, an Algerian will come and say, oh, how you did this? So giving back the experience to another community, and that community will create its own data. And that's the idea. And I was really surprised by this spirit of collaboration between the African researchers, students, startup ecosystem. And now also a key part of Masakhane is the Masakhane African Languages Hub, which is more formal than the Masakhane Research Foundation. And it's based on capacity support through funding, teaching, and also this collaboration. So now we think about licenses when we do open source data and tools, how it be the license, so everyone can benefit from this, including the startup ecosystem. In Africa, we don't have a big tech companies. Governments, they have their own speed when it comes to AI and digital transformation or etc. But the young generation, it's the engine that pushing Africa with AI and digital innovation.
Thanks, Hatem. Thanks for correcting me. You don't work for Masakhane. It's all volunteer based, and also this, the value in sort of wanting to give back and to collaborate for something that's maybe bigger than the one scientist. Now, Florence, I would like to come to you because you and we work for GIZ, which is implementing projects under the umbrella of German Development Cooperation with partner countries like Kenya, like Tunisia, and many others. And here now we're talking about data sovereignty, we're talking about digital sovereignty, and how that relates to AI. And I think it's fair to ask, what role can Germany, what role can the EU, what role can other development partners play in this work and these efforts or towards this goal? So I was wondering if you could share a little bit from your experience working with partners in Kenya, from the public sector, private sector, academia, civil society. Why do they collaborate with GIZ? Is there anything in particular that they appreciate about this kind of international cooperation?
Hello. Yeah. So our relationship, or our working relationship with GIZ, in terms of when you look at how GIZ supports. So one, I think one of the reasons why our partners are very comfortable working with GIZ is that when GIZ supports initiatives, it's not there. It doesn't have a commercial stake in it. It's not trying to box us into anything. So they provide support, they provide expert advisory, but then at the end of it, they let the country that they work in determine what is priority, and how do we also want to solve this problem? So it's not, they do not like prescribe anything or dictate anything. They just support, and then the country itself gets to make the decision that this is what is important to us. And based on how we have looked at our culture, based on how we have looked at our situation, based on how we have looked at where we want to go as a country, this is how we would want to solve it. So I think that's one of the major reasons why GIZ then the partners are comfortable working with this relationship, because then it's a partnership. It's not it's collaborative. Yeah.
Thanks, Florence. Looking at the time, maybe we have time for one or two questions. Okay, then I would like to open it to anyone who would like to ask us a question. You can say if it's for anyone on the panel or directed at anyone in particular, and maybe we'll just collect one or two. Yes, please.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for this nice chat. So perhaps data sovereignty is about media platforms, online platforms. So because we are producing our data, but we are producing our data in foreign platforms, in foreign servers. So what do you think about our own servers and platforms?
Yeah, thank you for this exchange and fruitful ideas. I go back to the point of sovereignty. So most of African countries, you asked the question, but most of African countries, they build their policies and strategies based on foreign, let's say, fund and financial, so foreign money. Yeah, the question is, how far is this, what is built from that, how far is sovereign? Because when you give me money, you have to, I have to give back something. Or what is this something? And this is this, yeah, what is given back doesn't have any impact on sovereignty. This is my question.
Okay, thank you for the two questions. So the question about, what about the data that we create on platforms that are not, that are global platforms, like your social media platforms, other media platforms, and how we deal with that. I don't know if anyone has any thoughts on that.
I think maybe I can give a comment on this, because it's a government international strategy on like some government are banning some social platform, and some of them sometimes they questioning the existing and the access of certain age categories to certain social media. And this is actually, it's a more governance problem rather than the data itself. Like, it's not about the data. It's about deciding how the access to information and who access what kind of information, the level of sensitivity. Of course, if platform, I don't want to name, where we have access to minor and some content, of course, some government can launch a discussion, especially, and I reiterate the interest of having national institution with a clear mandate. Institution like data protection and institute like in Tunisia, the Institut National for Data Protection des Données Individuelles, is institution that they are mandated to think about immersion use cases. Sometimes, okay, it's not about saying, okay, we will be using this platform or not. Sometimes it's an incident, it arises, and we need to create a whole national debate, which is happening sometimes in certain governments, even with countries within Europe who are already binded and aligned with GDPR or are under certain regional conventions. So it's still window of being aligned to a certain standard, but still at a national level, they still can decide. And I think you're coming from the EU, and okay, they are aligned, but each government designed its own way how they want to do this. And to add a question about sovereignty related to funds, it's really interesting. It's about the international. I think thinking about the data strategy, but there is a data policy, but also maybe there is a data diplomacy and a data cooperation discussion. And some organizations started thinking about digital cooperation organization with member states. And I think the question here is related to the whole investment in digital infrastructure first, before thinking, when we see how government and some region, Africa, how they position themselves towards certain technological choices, they come with certain investment profiles, vendor, and special market that are somehow decided it's beyond the government itself, because there are special classical actors that we are not here to debate, but governments still can decide what are their position towards this institution and define their diplomacy and their strategies, like how we want to position ourselves towards the GAFA or certain high retailers. If we want to do, like, taking the connectivity as a whole ecosystem, Africa is connected through two big projects of cable that are classically and openly connected and invest the result of Equiano cable funded by Google and other actors. And of course, the consortium of connectivity came with a certain convention and a whole discussion and strategies. And each government, of course, needs to think ahead of time if we want to connect, okay, at that layer of building connectivity, access to internet, but also having access to the cloud, building data center, and how shall we decide our data exportation, data exchange, and how we want to define this. And I think this is a discussion that should be built at a national level, before including, of course, having access to fund and resources and having bilateral partner in a certain project. I hope it answered maybe partly.
Okay. Thank you, Imen. I think we need to wrap up. So, Hatem, Imen, Florence, thank you so much. Thank you to everyone. Enjoy the rest of GAICA, and bye-bye.
Thank you for this panel. And now let's continue with the keynote, Bounding AI Bridging Human Intent and Physical Action, with Dr. Arsen Abdullahi, robotic research specializing in human-robot interaction. Hello.
Hello. I hope you hear me well. Yeah, it's my pleasure to be here in Tunisia. I really like the continent, this like multicultural diversity, and yeah, and also I have like privilege to be like presenting like in the last day, right? So I heard like a lot of interesting discussions, and especially I like the way how people think in AI in Tunisia, right? People think not about applications. People think about how to create technology and how to export the technology for the next thing. So my today's speech will be addressing those people who actually want to create a technology and who want to be ahead of the rest of the world, right? Who wants to build a technology and export a technology. So this work will be about like this two bits, right? It's about the human intent, how to understand and how to build like human-centered AI. And the second bit is about like the physical actions. So what are the problems in the physical actions right now? So this is like one of my favorite ways of thinking about like. Yeah, so this is like one of my favorite sayings. Like in American culture, people say it's like God created man, Samuel Colt made them equal, right? Yeah, so the meaning behind this word is about equal opportunities, right? People who are less weak, they are becoming strong with some important technology, and we are living at the age when LLM make the science be accessible to others, right? Before, science and R&D was a privilege of people who speak English and people who have subscription publications and so on, right? So you need to build the infrastructure around like in your universities, like to actually have access to do some research and R&D. It changes like completely right now. I'm working with some South Korean people, researchers, and I have like a R&D team in Uzbekistan, and the productivity like just like boosted like 2 times or 3 times, right? And you guys have a lot of talented people. So I think like it will change. It will make like a lot of change like in the coming 2-3 years. So I will be talking about like how to build the technology like beyond what you see right now in LLM. So you are not like trying to get to the level that like I don't know, like big tech companies are right now, but some beyond that level. In this slide, you can see like the complete robotic research, right? The robotics was like from 1860s and all the way to this age, right? And then you can see like that in the beginning when people was like inspired by homeostasis, is like the way how human regulates the temperature of the body and so on, right? And then it took like almost a decade to go to the next stage, right? Sense, think, act cycle. And still, like reinforcement learning is basically the technology of this period of the time, right? From 1950s. And now if you can see like the last 3 decades was like very rapid. So we have like mechanical intelligence like in 2000s. We have soft robotics in 2010s. And now we have like at the stage of the robot reasoning, right? But the thing is like, if like before we had almost 100 years to develop like really like strong theoretical foundation. Now we have only 10 years, and we still didn't really develop and design it at the level that we're supposed to be at. So all of our like technology that we have right now, like the robot reasoning, are actually built upon this like 2 period of times. So we are using very, very old robotics technology and put the AI on top. And that's why we have like embodied robotic system that we see right now. About robotic reasoning, right? Many people say like, does LLM reason at all or not, right? It's like philosophical debate. Some people think yes, some people think no. But what we can say, like it can explain decisions, right, with the common language. I like this like two simple examples. The one is like DALL-E. It's a model like a few years ago, but you can see like the language here is basically emergent from some like embedded spaces and so on, right? So this is like the language that DALL-E model created to explain what's really going on. The second one is like a startup. This startup raised like $1 billion last year. Wave is a Cambridge-based spin-out, and basically they built a system that explains decisions of the self-driving vehicle. You can ask like, oh, why did you slow down? And it will explain. Okay, it's raining. I cannot see like what's behind the corner and so on, right? It explains the decision, right? This is like about the AI being physically capable, right? making some decisions and explaining decisions. Still, we don't know if it is reasoning or not, but we are going to that direction, right? In this example, I want to show you like the progress, like how it was like the last I don't know, like six years, right? OpenAI created this like task of the manipulating like Rubik's cube. It looks great, right? Everyone was thinking, okay, so the way to go is basically reinforcement learning. So we should invest in it. We should go, even though for this like very specific and simple task, they were using like a data centers to compute, right? A lot of compute, and it was like task specific. They couldn't really go anywhere, right? Beyond this like simple example. Then 2 years ago, like the Figure AI, nearly similar people, same people, they went and built the actual robot, right? And in this robot, they were using like teleoperation to manipulate the objects. It was because like you can put a reasoning machine, right? Like you can put LLM into the robot. It can reason, it can reply, it can do many things that the human with mental capability can actually do the things, right? Interactions. But it's difficult to do like physical interactions because of the experience, right? The way how we see this world, how we interact with the world, this like the first view player experience is difficult to capture from the real interaction. That's why at that stage it was not really working. In the third video, it's published like a month ago, right? It's like a breakthrough in a way because it's like learning from the experience, right? It's the way how you can, for example, take a lot of videos and then try to capture all the experiences from the interaction. So you can, for example, I don't know, like if you see like the YouTube videos, like when people cook, maybe you can like, I don't know, load like tons of those videos and then try to teach the robot to cook, right? It sounds good, but not really. It is like my favorite example. So on the left, the video you saw just right now, like the third video, but the video on the right is the person who has like numb fingers, right? So they put injection of some medicine just to remove the sensations, like the tactile sensations. And you can see like the person is struggling to light up the match. It's like very simple task, but it's being very difficult to do. Even though this person has like vision, right? It has experiences like using this like visual information, and the person knows like how to do everything, right? But struggles to do. It's not only about tactile information. It's about like feeling the body, right? How to interact with your own body. How the person through the like long period of time learn how to interact with their own body and about neuroplasticity. So later, after this slide, I will be talking about like neuroplasticity and the way how we do like the bio-inspired research and interaction with AI. This work we were trying to replicate the human hand, right? We want to do it like anthropomorphic instead of going like to the mechanical way, like every other company, when they have like each joint and they have like a perfect control of each joint with the perfect sensors. We are trying to make like the similar way as you do it for the human, right? The similar properties like bones, similar properties like ligaments and muscles and the sensor distributions, like everything like very similar. And we were trying to see like how far we can go and what the advantages this sort of hand will give. And the results are phenomenal. Basically, you don't really need to have any actuation to hold nearly any possible object, right? And then it improved a lot. Also, you can detect all possible anomalies, like the way, for example, when the object is falling from your hand, you feel like that the object is falling from your hand, right? So you can do a bit of predictions about, okay, the object is falling away, I need to just change my pose, right? Or I need to grip like a bit stronger, or any interventions that you do. So we made the system that enables the robot to do a very similar thing. But again, so what is the AI and how do we control this system, right? So this system is very passive. To control the system, we went a bit beyond, and we started thinking about like the neuroplasticity side, right? The way how the human operates, right? The way how the animal operates, right? And the way it happens is completely different from what you see right now, like in the research, like that you've seen, like in those companies, right? Figure AI. Figure AI, by the way, also raised like $1 billion, right? It's like really, really massive companies. And the way it works in the human is instead of sending commands from brain or from your spinal cord, it does a lot of processing at the local stage. And it is basically a dynamical model that can predict what's going to happen during the interaction, as well as it can compare if something is going wrong and be a bit more adaptive, right? So in this way, human is basically offloads a lot of computational power, computational loads to the local circuits, right? And these circuits are dynamic, and they are trying to replicate the interaction, right? Dynamic interaction, this like complexity and so on. This is like the way to go. This is the way how you can reduce number of parameters that you need to learn for your brain. So originally, like essentially, if you will have like a really, really powerful reasoning model like LLM for the high level, I don't know, like interaction, like talking, discussing, and so on, and very efficient model that actually learns the body, being adaptive, learning in time through the interactions, but in the local computational way, then you can basically solve a lot of problems with a less compute time. Because like Figure AI are using like 7 billion parameters right now to the second stage model, right? But eventually, with the neuromorphic computing, you can basically go down to, I don't know, like milliseconds of compute time to update the model and so on. This is the way how we are trying to go. So the figure like in the middle is basically the way how they discovered for the human. It's like this work is published 2015 by the neuroscientists, and it's actually working for the human, right? So this is the way how we need to go to make like this like beautiful and natural manipulations of the objects, and then we can beat maybe the company that were raising like 1 billion, right? If you go to this direction, not many compute time, relatively cheap, human inspired, and it will give the good results, right? This is like another paper published in 2019. It's about, again, proving about the local neuromorphic circuits and the neuroplasticity. You can see the animal here. This animal is basically transiting from the land to water. And the interesting bit is like the brain is basically decoupled. So it doesn't use the brain to control the behavior. So when it moves, the local circuits, they know the environment, right? And they are being adaptive. So everything is like happening really, really fast and natural. This is the way how we need to build like humanoid robots. And this is the way how we need to basically see towards the physical interaction in embodied AI. So what does embodied AI mean? It means that the robot should be aware and know how to operate its own body, right? This is like about like embodied AI. Why AI is embodied? It's not about like having a robot with LLM or with AI. It is about that LLM or AI or any other reasoning tool can understand that it has its own body and it can have a bit of advantage of its own body. This is what we tried to do. We tried like a simple model. This work was published like in ICRA this year. It is about like how we used these like neuromorphic circuits to use together with the reinforcement learning. So with the reinforcement learning, we have like decision-making upper level controller, and the lower level controller is basically like neuromorphic circuit based on the reservoir computing. Reservoir computing is dynamical, nonlinear dynamical system that operates like at the edge of chaos. So you can basically switch from the one behavior to another behavior. So we can interpolate between different bodies. And this work was about like how if this like neuromorphic circuit can switch its dynamical behavior based on the changes in the body. Can it sense and can it evaluate? For example, say that we have like a, I don't know, like a robot like 1 meter tall. If this robot will be like 1.5 meter tall. Will the controller still work or not? And we show that this work generalizes, right, across different body variations. So we solve like several problems, including like sim to real gap. So you can train on the simulation and then run it in the real world and so on, right? So it's have like promising results. We still didn't employ it in the humanoid or some like more fancy, but yeah, we, like robots, but we are moving towards the direction. So we also look at the different other different aspects. We were using like we were trying to see like if these like neuromorphic circuits can actually can be repurposed. So you can use the same purposes, right? And it works. So the features can be extracted from your dynamical interactions and can be used like for different purposes. And we also like show on the paper on the right. So it was published this year in IROS 2025. We were checking like if the higher level controller is actually taking benefits from the lower level like neuromorphic circuits or not, right? And then we show that activation of the neurons connected to these like neurocircuits, they from the controller. So it kind of tries to take advantage of the neuromorphic circuits, and it can be connected together. Another bit that I want to talk about today is not about interaction, it's about the human intent, right? And the large language models are built upon the language, right? Upon the conversation, discussion, and description, right? How we describe the things, right? So you have chair, we describe it as a soft, right? But how soft it is, right? And it's difficult to explain what we feel with the language, and that's why it's not really well. The world around us is not well captured by the LLMs, right? And it's difficult to capture because it's difficult for us to explain the things. What is more difficult to explain is the interaction that we have among each other, right? So we don't really talk, but we see each other, and then we know like what mood the person has. Can I approach that person, talk to the person or not? Or we have like a bit of context, right? So we have like some history that we, I don't know, like we, for example, danced together in the gala dinner, and then many different things, right? That the LLM doesn't really cover. And without this thing, it's difficult to build a robot that will be a society, right? And that's why the research is going from the explicit information, like that LLM relies on right now, to some implicit information, right? But the problem is how to deal with this implicit information, how to quantify it, how to define it, because you can label if you know what it is, right? But if you cannot define it yourself, you cannot label, right? It's not about like the labeling data. It's not about like collecting the data. It's about defining it. So we cannot really define. So how do we train? And we published another work recently in Science Robotics. It's like a top journal, top in robotics. This is like a review paper, and we were discussing about like the social, like embodied communication, how the communication is actually happening in the human, and we don't really use the language. So the bit rate, like the amount of bits that information we convey through the speaking, is actually comparable to the amount of information we convey like through our like face, right? So how we, for example, change the emotion, like, for example, if you're happy, I can see that you're happy, right? I know this like simple like appearance conveys a lot of information that will require a lot of talking, right? And human has like a lot of different layers of way of communicating this information, and all of them are actually comparable in the bit rate, like around like 50 bits per second, right? Like comparable to the language. It's like enormous like amount of information coming through other channels, and it's not captured by language, not captured by LLM, right? But we need to look at that, right? So if you want to make the research in AI ahead of the world, this is like the way to go, right? That people didn't really do. People don't know how to train it, how to capture it. Can you do it with a self-supervised learning like that people are using right now to train LLMs? Maybe, how, right? this is like a good direction to go. This is what we are exploring. If you're interested, please contact me. We can work together on this. Another thing, what I want to touch is the way how we build the models, right? The way and why it works for a digital world. So all of you know probably like this like interfaces, right? Like on top is like ChatGPT interface, then Claude, then Gemini, and any other AI interfaces we have follow a classical like canonical model of the human machine interaction. You have a request and it returns you a response, right? But the thing is, like, it doesn't really fit to other business cases, right? To other business models. Like, for example, if you're, I don't know, like, cleaning like in the cafe, right? If you want to put LLM model or integrate like LLM solution, AI solution to this like business model, so it will be like a bottleneck, right? It will be like another thing that they need to do, right? They don't want to open the phone or open any device, any gadget to integrate, right? So the human-centric AI means that you need to understand your human and you need to integrate it. So it should be adaptive to the human and to the environment in the business case, right? It's not easy to do. So this is like what we are doing in the startup that I will introduce like in a bit. This is basically what we are doing. As I said, like we have a R&D team working on the human-centric AI. This company was founded in university in Cambridge, and we have like a partner in ETH Zurich, like Mariel is working with us. We have like two sister companies. Like one is working on the technical side, like so we develop foundation models and so on, and another one is like working more on the business models, on the business use cases, and we are trying to make these AI solutions like more adaptive to the business case, to the scenarios, and we kind of like try to put the human first, and we are trying to build a responsible human-centric AI. Please, so this is like two QR codes. One QR code is like with the LinkedIn. So we've launched that page like very recently. It's not many people yet there, but yeah, please stay connected. Also, if you want to be a part of this, we look for the partnership. We want to work with Africa, with Tunisia, or with whoever. So yeah, just like please contact us. So we are very open for collaborations and to work together. Yeah, and then the website. Yeah, it doesn't want to go to the next page. Next page? One page before. Yeah, also, we are building up a community on embodied intelligence. We run the conference every year. The conference is online and free. So technically, we want to just like promote this community, this field, to the rest of the world. We usually have around like 600, 800 people like coming, like visiting this conference. We invite like really like top tier professors for like keynotes and so on. It's like around like 40 like top tier professors will be giving a speech. We usually have people coming from all over the world, like from the North America, from the like California or like East Coast, West Coast, UK, Europe. In Asia, we have like Korea, Japan, China, and so on, right? But we don't have much people coming from Africa. So I want you guys to promote this event as well, so you can stay connected, so we can basically work together on that, right? And also, if some of you probably are working in the universities, and if you want to do some project together, if something is resonating, like my ideas, just please contact me. We can discuss. Also, in one of the previous recorded events, you can see some previously recorded sessions in there as well. So it's a really good source of information that you can get inspiration for your like future startup or something. Yeah, thanks for attention. So I have like a bit of time for your to ask answer for your questions. So yeah, some of you are interested in. Uh, yeah. Yeah, it's there on the bottom. They have a switch.
It's working. Thank you. Thank you for this amazing presentation. Just a question. So, did you have some, or did you study some other species, like animals, or because there is the, perhaps you know, the C. elegans. It's nematode, with 300 neurons, and there is a lot of studies on it.
Yeah.
Did you do some work on it?
Yeah, I think yes, it's a very good question. Actually, like if you look at the AI conference recording, like people are currently using even like they put like the actual biological neurons into the chip to use those biological neurons for the doing like computations, right? There are a lot of like biohybrids right now where you can, I don't know, like grow some like tissue and then control with the silicon chips, or the other way around, right? It's really good question. So if we have like a more basic, like the 300 neurons or even smaller, like the circuits, if we can study it and then replicate it, it would be a really good idea. Like one of the studies that I think like very promising is they took the brain of the fly, and the brain of the fly is like very similar to the architecture that you've seen right now, like in my publication that I show. It has like a number of neurons, and the way it operates also at the age of chaos. That's why it's like really dynamic, and it kind of like stable in a dynamic environment, right? That's why it's difficult to catch, right? Yeah. So yeah, it's really good direction to, I don't know, have like by inspirations and look at like how it works for the animals, because it's like very efficient, right? You don't really need to have like 7 billion parameters, right? You don't need to, I don't know, like wait for the data center to be built in Africa, right? So you can, I don't know, simulate it and start working even now, right?
Yeah, we have a lot of flies in Africa. Perhaps we can build some GPUs on it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. You mentioned something about trying to create business models or to create business applications from what you're doing. And I think in particular, you mentioned the hospitality industry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you mind going a bit more into that, just to give us a bit more understanding?
Yeah.
How is that
Yeah.
working?
So the important bit in hospitality business is that you need to understand people, right? And especially you need to understand people from a different cultures, right? So in the hotel business, for example, I don't know, like here in Tunisia, for example, I came, right? And I have like a bit of different like cultural background. And the person who is serving, like, I don't know, in the concierge or, I don't know, in the reception, they need to understand the differences, right? The experienced ones, they understand, but not experienced ones, they need to get a bit of training, right? A bit of feedback. And it's difficult to get the proper feedback, right? So our system is basically focusing on that. And if you have like a network in the hospitality business, or if you want to do anything, just contact me. We can discuss more. So we are happy to be more integrated to Africa and to build something together.
Thank you.
Another question.
Yeah. No more questions?
Another question? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We will take a break for 10 minutes until we have the speakers here. Thank you.
Hi.
Et 1, 2.
C'est bon.
Et. Et 1, 2. Et. Et.
Hello. أعطيك الأنجليزي كيف هو ما ينفعش. هاي. هلو أنس.
Hello.
Hello. Hi. Hello.
A, A, A. A. Hello. Hello.
Starting to express something. If you need assistance or have a specific request,
Hello. 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 Hello.
ليه كيف هلو. لا ما مش قاعد يعمل في الترانسكريبشن من التكست خلوه يعمل.
تعديش هذا منه.
ايون. اي.
Hello and welcome again. Finally, we are here for closing panel about bridging continent and interconnection tech ecosystem. Let's welcome our speakers, Natalie Raffil, founder Robot Can Think. Hello, Natalie. Welcome to the stage. And hello, Hangul Lee Song, data lead at Britter UK. Hello. Yes. And welcome women head of investment, Launch Africa Venture. Hello. And also welcome Frederic Dot and Africa Senior Sales Expert Innovia. Welcome to our moderator, Omay Manizi, University Lecturer in Social and Solidarity Economic at FSEC.
Thank you so much, Yasmin. So welcome everyone to our closing panel. In this panel, we'll be discussing what after GEICA, we will be speaking about how we could right now bridging continents with different programs. What is our vision right now as Africa continent, not only countries in Africa. So I hope that the crowd will join our conversation with your questions, with your point of view. Also, our panelists. My question here today, what do you think about a program or a hub that will unite all the African continent through innovation? Because we are speaking about a huge ecosystem. If we say technology, we have a lot of sectors. So right now, what is Africa is working and what is the vision about this subject? Start with Lee? Okay. Shine, okay. We will start with Shine. Okay, it's working.
Okay. Hello, everyone. It's an honor to be here, and I didn't expect that I will talk in this place today. I think it's meant to be from the universe, and it's been 10 days I've been to Africa. I've been traveling for about 10 months in Europe, in UK, and France, and Swiss, and Italy. And I landed in Tunis. And the first impression in Tunis, people are so welcoming, so helpful, and so humble. And what I recognized is, firstly, how we can bridge the African society for the next generations and everything. Firstly, I think we more focused on the humanity, and then especially for the children, for the next generation, and then the mentoring system, and also the community platform in their local area. So even it can be small. I'm staying now in Skan. It's nearby Sousse, in a very small village. But when you go to the point, that's called, where all the collective taxis are, there are beautiful cafes and everything is beautiful. But when you go out of this landscape, there's this missing part, huge missing part of ecological, environment. So I think I would say
the
more like
infrastructure. You are talking, yes.
Infrastructure, but they can start with the ecological education. And we just had the researcher from biologic lab. I'm staying by biological teacher in Tunis, Lucy, and it's still the school hasn't enough budget for windows, broken windows, and even desks. So I would say teachers can individually invest on their informatic knowledge, and combine with their personal ability, an impact to their students. And every, for example, biology teachers are working around the 7 teachers, and then one is responsible for 200 students. Maybe even they change their mind and then improve their skills to combine and integrate with their biology knowledge, and then tech knowledge, and then deliver their knowledge in the integrated way, more development, and very individual way if they connect with the platform and the volunteering and the community. That would be my ideation.
So you think that education is the first key today?
Yeah, especially for smaller ages. For example, from this year, for the coming year, in Koreans, the primary school, we do not have papers anymore. Everything will be digitalized. Digital literacy is so important, and that's why the teachers had to upgrade themselves very much. Upgrade of effort, and one who was able to improve, updated their ability in the digital literacy. They share their colleagues the knowledge again. So like systematically, they have a small cells in each groups. So it can be events or some conferences can be helpful to connect, but more like a cell-based connection will be more for Africa, I believe.
Great. Thank you. Because yes, yesterday, Mr. Karim Brigir, the CEO and founder of Unstudy, he had mentioned that education is the first key point to applicate AI and to create and train students to how to use AI, and of course, how to put it in the right hands. So Natalie, what do you think?
Thank you. I say yes to your proposal. And I sit also in the paradox of saying, no to your proposal. Because my question is, who does it serve? And would it amplify the dignity of our people on the continent? Saying yes to it means it's going to allow for attractiveness from foreign investors, and of course, elevation of the skill and education of our people. And we have to make sure, if we say yes, that it's including those that do not sit in this room, that do not have activity, that are really after the basic needs. Bread, fresh water, education, and not a digital phone.
Yes.
So yes, only if, and no, if it's an attraction for our personal pockets.
Exactly.
I will take a slightly different approach, and my approach is, from my experience investing over the last over the last 10 plus years, and also leading investments at Launch Africa. I think that we need to remember that Africa is 54 countries of different cultures.
Yes.
However, within those 54 countries of different cultures, you have sub-regions who are very alike. And that's why you have the typical classification of Northern Africa, Southern Africa, Western Africa. Even within those four stratospheres I've just mentioned, you can actually build out sub-regions within those regions. And I postulate, and I think that the way for Africa is to, yes, see us as one economic bloc, but however, to drive innovation, we have to drive it from the sub-region. Why can't we have regional champions in West Africa, say in Ghana, where all the resources, where the movement of talent is focused around Ghana? So you're talking about Nigeria, say Senegal and the likes, or we can say a Francophone bloc or a Central African bloc.
Exactly.
But I think that that's the approach we need to go, because waiting for the whole continent to agree with each other to move is going to take years, as we've seen it already. So why don't the sub-regional blocks come together and begin to work as a unit? And finally, we need to ask ourselves, what do we want to be known for in each region? If it's Tunisia, Morocco is doing so well with education in STEM, mathematics, and the likes. So if we're saying most of the AI talents coming out of Africa should come from this part of the world, then we should own it. Tunisia should own it.
Yes.
We should export the talents from here. If we are saying Kenya is the climate tech region of Africa, so most climate tech sustainable solutions come from that belt of the continent, then they should own it. I think each region needs to identify what they know how to do better than everybody and zero in on it and become great at it.
You see, he's sitting in the paradox too. And maybe I can convince him that there is a paradox. Because I agree with you. What you are saying, that own what you are best at. And what you're proposing is, let's elevate each country's best and circulate it into the continent.
Like
and
it's data.
outside the continent.
Yes.
Earlier on, I gave the example, an anecdote of soccer.
Yes.
Each country is great at soccer. Maybe better at rugby. But soccer in Africa.
You know that the soccer subject is, people in Tunisia especially, the most thing that they want to watch on TV is soccer game, football games, basketball games. Maybe today I think we need a kind of tech ecosystem.
Similar to the standardizations of our football country level, we have city level, aggregated into continental level, where we compete at the African Cup. And then we go global. And I think our problems across the continent and each country is similar. And if we have similarities, the convergence of intelligence and minds across this continent can rise and can solve one problem that is interconnecting each country. Why do we have someone in South Africa solving the water crisis and nobody in Tunisia knowing about it? But you probably have the same problem. We have Morocco who have solar farms, but they're not publishing their energy outside of the country. Now, can we imagine a world where we can and create ecosystems of that net worth?
Hard to say more than what you guys said, right? I mean, you're all right. We see differences in Africa, in different countries with different cultures, and we have to make with it and try to elevate indeed. What we see is that there are several things that are relevant for all the countries, except issues and difficulties that each country has regarding fooding, regarding agriculture, regarding, okay. And when we talk about education, when we talk about innovation, as we are in this innovation temple, this is maybe a way to make people working together and try to exchange the work of each other into a single activity, I would say, from a continent point of view. So, well, when you see what happens here in terms of innovation, in Innovation City, and the relationship with the industry players, with the innovators, the makers, the students, it's a good way to think as a model what could be done in some other countries, which, by the way, happens. Because in other countries, you have the same, maybe not the same model in terms of Innovation City being a very nice model, okay? Very well, you know, thought since a long time and with a strong attraction. But this model in terms of the way to generate global activity on the continent by interacting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Innovation City in Africa, could be a way to make sure that, you know, if we work on a given topic somewhere, then you can reproduce in others thanks to technology. Just reminding that Africa is able to do something incredible, leapfrogging. Leapfrogging is something that Africa did already with telecom and could be doing with digital, and using digital to indeed provide skills, knowledge sharing between different cultures. So, yeah, agree with you guys. If we had some other topic like technology, digital, we need to have something that would be able to replicate what has been done in a given country and provide it to others as a continent. Oh, sorry.
Thank you. I just want to touch on what you just said and then get the mic to my fellow speaker. So I'm a little bit, let's say, afraid of the word leapfrog for AI specifically. Because of course we have been leapfrogging regarding mobile adoption, telco and so on. But what is really different with AI is that there is this black box that we, I don't think that anyone can, to date, explain exactly what's happening in that black box. But what we know is that that black box encompasses a lot of biases, bias, and many things that if you are a user in somewhere in the continent, if you're if you are impacted, let's say regarding credit scoring, health, and so on, you have the right. You should know exactly what come out of that black box. And because of that, I'm struggling a little bit about the concept of leapfrogging in that situation. So I don't know what you think, but I wanted to touch on that the difference of leapfrogging with AI and other typical type of technologies.
It's so funny because my comment was going to be around the word leapfrog. I detest that word so much because in the last 5 to 10 years, it's been overused, it has been abused, and it has been used to paint Africa as we don't know what we're doing and we have nothing to show for it. I think we need to go beyond the conversation around leapfrogging to actually look at the continent of Africa on a simplistic level. Everything they say we don't have actually exists. We say, X billion people have no bank accounts, but there's a sameness of banking that exists in cultural spaces. The market women's and the farmers actually have their version of banking. So banking actually exists.
I think here, if we are speaking about, maybe if we are talking about a traditional banking system, because right now we are speaking about blockchain, cryptocurrencies. But for example, we took the south of Africa. They are using this technology and this banking system. And here in Tunisia, for example, we don't have access to this. In other also African countries. So right now I see like there is an equality and between countries, like someone is generating data from cryptocurrencies and someone is creating like green cryptocurrencies. We're speaking about innovation. But on the other hand, countries are not using it. So maybe I will not say we are speaking about a policy. Maybe here we are speaking about a decision and a decision making, because we are always afraid of sharing our data. But on the other hand, we are sharing our data in social media. So
I mean, you raised the AI question very well, but to my point of leapfrogging, because it is not mass adopted in the way that exists in the West, doesn't mean that we don't have the talent already that are using it, and it's in our form doesn't exist already. The biggest problem, like you've said, in some ways, is policy. Because if you look around, okay, we talk about, I've spent some time today talking about, the banking ecosystem in Tunisia and how it's structured. And it's structured that way because they're building in the fintech space, or they're really smart. The reason why Tunisia has two of some of the biggest exits on the continent is also policy, investment in education.
yes.
So these things already exist. Now to your point about AI, I think that in the end, and this is what I advocate for always, and I spoke in my previous panel, was when we look at AI, we need to stop looking at it from the lens of the way it has played out in China or in the US. We would not be able to build foundational models. We don't have we have the talent, but we don't have the resources that we need for that. But should we be spending our resources on rebuilding foundational models when we have the data, like you've mentioned, and when we can go upstream and build an application layer that can use that data to better our lives? So maybe it's about refocusing how we see and how AI will play out on the continent. Again, this is my perspective, than to always look at the West as the right example for how things should play out for us.
In this vision, I will ask Mr. Frederick a question about if right now, if the company has a challenge, I don't know, if they will create like a digital crypto currency like Mercedes has done, the Cardano cryptocurrency. And I think, I don't know, if you will invest in Africa to create this kind of cryptocurrency.
Not sure I catch the question, to be very honest, sorry about that. But
actually, we have been talking about fintechs
Yeah.
and cryptocurrencies, Web3, etc., blockchain. So today in Africa, we have a challenge.
Yeah.
Because there are some countries that are using this technology, and the other countries, they're not using it. Right now, if DS, like the company you work with, have a challenge to create a kind of this supply chain management cryptocurrency with the industry that we have here, what do you think about it?
Okay, so I understood the question, but I wanted to make sure we don't create supply chain. So I can't answer the question. We create the software that helps creating supply chain from industry players. So that's the reason why I was not catching the question. But the fact is that indeed we don't create that. What we can do is understanding where a supply chain would have to be created, and then helps to create it by providing the capabilities, the software, the solutions, the services, whatsoever. But I mean, DS wouldn't think about participating to such things in a given country, because this is not our job. This is the job of our customers, in fact. Okay, so big guys, big OEMs, Mercedes or Stellantis or Renault or Airbus would need to think about that instead of us. They could invite us to think about it. I mean, especially in the way they would have to do it, supported by research, supported by education, etc. But DS wouldn't do that. Maybe Dassault Aviation would do that. But I'm not able to answer the question, to be very honest, because I'm not part of aviation.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Okay, go on. You have a point of view.
Yes, I'm listening to comments about the crypto. I don't know. I mean, for the moment, my comment could be very direct. And Africa should have, we are talking about AI and how to implement AI in Africa. And they should have a different strategy. Focus on specific sector, which sector they should focus on. To be honest, yesterday I was sitting in the cafe, and then children came up to me, and then selling some stuff, and then I shared them my crab, and I was working with Medina Jesus, and he passed me on some paper, and that he's an orphan, and they just helped me. And I think they should have more opportunity in the social safety, and they can more invest in education or social regeneration. I don't know. There is a huge gap between a high educated group criteria and then generalized people. Even in Korea, we had a war in 1950, and we had the same financial status as Somalia. So like, I would feel like it's you should have taken a person and more focus on how you can deliver individually first and then implement technology. Yes.
Okay, so like Natalie has mentioned, we need to build a good infrastructure to speak about AI. This is the point of view, I think, because right now we are going faster and the world is going faster. So my question to all of you is, today Africa can join the run and can become like in the same level as the European level of artificial intelligence, or because we have the resources, human resources, of course, the natural resources. Education is developing as we see, like the system, the competitions, the different hackathons, the idea generation. So right now, if we are speaking about intercontinents, today Africa is in the level of this challenge. What is your vision and what we can tell to the crowd today after GEICA? What kind of projects we will be like going out from GEICA? This is our project, what we will do. This is our vision. Like, this is so what I think.
Thank you. Firstly, I'm going to answer from various hats that I wear. I'm a founder and have been in business for over 15 years. I'm an inventor and have been inventing for over 20 years. I'm also an angel investor, and I know and understand the need of funding for certain initiatives. I'm a philanthropist. Now, with all those encompassing hats, I look at the continent and understand the need of the continent. Do we have excuses more than implementation? Come on, raise your hands. If you think we have more excuses than implementation in Africa, raise your hands. How many of you utilize AI here? I would want all the hands to go up because I know you all utilize AI. We all have a device in our hand every single day. How many of you invest in cryptocurrency? Nobody. How many of us trade? How many of us consume food from agriculture? How many of us are educated? Why am I asking these questions? Because we're only in a different era, and an era of information. Now, if you look at the hands that went up, and when I asked who uses AI, very few do. But we have information at our fingertips, and we're not utilizing it because we are really consumed with filters on Instagram and being the best TikToker out there. And I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just saying focus. So continent-wise, if we had focus and created spaces of attractiveness for investors, startups would rise. We have a huge funnel of startups. 88% of startups in the world come from Africa. 34% of unicorns come from Africa. Yet we have excuses for investment. Yet we have excuses that we do not have infrastructure. We do have infrastructure. The country has H100s, H200s. We have data centers across the continent. We have quantum computing coming out of Morocco. All I am saying is if we unify all my hats, what is the value that I can contribute back into the economy so that Africa rises into the spaces of Europe, US, and Asia? Why are we still in the extraction phase? I said it yesterday and I'm going to repeat it. We have had our minerals extracted. We've had our commodities extracted and sold back to us. Now we're having our expertise, our unicorns, our startups being extracted. Because as a startup, to be successful, I really have to open up an entity in Delaware or Luxembourg. If I want to get investment for a cervical cancer diagnostic that is 100% accurate with 2 million users generating revenue and an ARR that meets all the investor sheets, and I need to bring it back into my country, I have 700 million gazillion boards that I have to affiliate with. No one's raised their hand and said, I'm going to invest in that, Natalie. You've proven the point. You've ticked my investor sheet. Why? Why? We're not answering the question of why. Are we an overeducated population? Yes, we are. We're exporting our skill, like our soccer players. Let's be honest.
Yes.
Right? Can we retain our skill? Yes, we can. Do we have the ecosystems to do so? Yes, we do. Do we want to? No, we don't. Now, if we want to levitate and elevate what we want to achieve, we have to be extremely committed and extremely passionate about implementation. Lovable. Anybody heard of Lovable? Their ARR is 200 million. They announced it yesterday. I think they valuated at 200 billion. They are the only unicorn who is supporting Africans. I am the ambassador for Lovable in Africa. They've offered free credits to the continent. They have offered elevation in startups that they will invest in. And I'm saying, why them and why not OpenAI?
Yes.
So do we have the mandates? Can we shift the mandates? Yes, we can. Are we opening the doors for this intricate conversations in larger spaces? I think we should do more of. And to your point, we do need an elevated African space where it's focused on implementation, not just conversation.
Yes.
And I really hope the outcome of this event is something that is tangible. Because when we come to next year, GAICA, we would love to see fresh faces and tangible outcomes, showcasing the talent of the country, of the continent, investors willing to come through and say, yes, I'm investing in Africa, my equity resides in Africa, I am contributing to the economy of Africa.
Thank you so much. This is, yes.
I mean, she put it so beautifully. I just wanted to add a few more points to that in terms of what the future outlook could look like. I was opportune to be in a dinner with the group CEO of Coca-Cola, or the former group CEO and chairman of Coca-Cola. He left in 2019, and then the dean of one of the institutes, one of the most popular schools on the continent in the UK. And one of the things that we talked about was how even universities do not know what the jobs of the future would look like.
Yes. As a teacher, this is what each year we are thinking about. What's next? What are the jobs of the future? Because we are, like data is generating ideas and prompt, we are generating talents. And those talents will work. Those talents are the future economy of Africa. So we are always in the confusion between like, should we give them information about the past or the future? Because we can predict what's coming next, like the AI is predicting what's coming next. But right now, what we are speaking about, if we could run to become the first continent, first generating data, because as I said, the future is data. We need to focus because the first infrastructure of artificial intelligence and tech systems or ecosystem is data. example, today, if we are creating a startup, we need to do like the research markets, but we can't find the right and the correct information about, I don't know, the market that we will work on it. So it's a little bit risky for startups. That's why they create the idea in their countries and they go outside their country to look for. Yes.
So, and you sort of answer what I was going to say. We can't move to the future or build an Africa of the future or create the jobs of the future or create the talents of the future if we repeat the mistakes we've been repeating for the last 10 years. So everybody shouts AI, AI, AI. You mentioned data, very important. We need to sit down and go beyond writing all those sweet policy papers to say these are the jobs that will be destroyed, these are the jobs that will be created, to actually preparing our talent to be productive for the next phase of growth. The question now becomes, what is the next phase of growth for Africa? And everything that we've talked about in this panel is what we're trying to answer. To the point of, having to register in Delaware and to raise money, we all know that it's a mix of government policy failure. That's just the truth. And interestingly, I spoke about this earlier today, because why shouldn't we do the same thing we do in Delaware, Mauritius, or Seychelles? It's all government policy failure. We African countries, let's be real, we don't like to play with each other. Let's just tell the truth. Let's be honest with ourselves. Till we realize that we are one economic bloc and we will succeed as one economic bloc, we're going to keep on having the same problems. Local capital has to start playing the game. Our rich men understand their money on the continent, so they want to put it in Switzerland and forget it there. We need to re-educate them to see that they can make the same type of returns that they are making in other markets here if you are investing in the right people. I also understand, because I know somebody here will say it, and well, the DFIs has poured in so much money over the last few years, but it went into the wrong hands. And my answer to that is always, you were giving the wrong people the money. Work with the local partners on ground who know the ecosystem, who know the best founders, who have been working with these founders for years. Empower them, and then you begin to see the results. Don't sit down in your office in New York, in your family office, and just say, well, I have, for tax reasons, I want to give away $1 million. Then you call up your best friend that has a business in, say, Kenya, and say, I want to invest in X number of people, take the money, and guess what? He swindles the money and lives his best life. The next thing you say, well, money that we put in Africa doesn't get to the right people. You did not do your homework. And it's very, very important. If we are going to change the continent, every one of us has to put skin in the game. We have to put our money where our mouth is, including the diaspora. And that is a demographic that we often do not always talk about. They have the network, they have the experience, and they are liquid sometimes. They can actually invest in the continent. How are we making our countries, how are we making the continent a suitable environment for them to want to come back to either live and work or invest their time, not even money, their time and their resources. And these are things that we have to constantly battle with if we are going to change the trajectory that we are on. But reality is, if we continue this way, we will always be that other continent. While other people are moving forward, we're going to always be, the continent they talk about leapfrogging every year.
Mr. Frederick, what do you think?
Thank you. No, I agree. I'm still thinking that we need to think about industry players because we don't mention them. Okay, industry in Africa is important, and we talk a lot about we talk about startups. We talk about good things here, innovators, etc., etc. It's important, but I mean, you guys have a strong industry. Getting old, that needs to transform, but very strong anyway, and very relevant for the continent to be developed. So AI is also very important so that we can provide industry players the technologies and the intelligence that they need to go faster, further, and make our Africa be stronger in the world, and make sure that population will be taking advantage of it. So, innovation, that's what we talk about. We talk about skills, education. We talk about industry. Makes me think about my strategy, which is very good. But I mean, yeah, that's the way we see the things. But making sure that industry remain also in the middle of the conversation, because industry need innovation, industry need skills, education. And this is what Ishan is doing here with Innovation City. There is always these spheres where you have this innovation, this education, and industry that needs to take advantage of it. We should be fine. Merci beaucoup.
So we are running out of time. We will closing with Mr. Babakar.
Yeah.
What do you think about us, and what is your opinion?
Yeah.
So the conclusion is at your hand, Ratman.
Oh, that's a tough mission that you are giving me here. I think everything has been said. I will be really quick. I will be controversial a little bit. I don't think that it's about catching up with other areas of the world. I think we really have to, coming back to the word focus, it's really where we are putting our focus. And I come back to what I was saying this morning. For me, technologies like AI should be really driven to how we, especially in our continent, how we can make life better for populations. That's why I think we should use as much as we can. Look at index like the Human Development Index and how AI can really accelerate that. Because if you look at that, it's about access to education, access to health, and have a better life, a life of dignity. And I speak as an entrepreneur support organization that AI to accelerate success of entrepreneurs in the continent. I think we, coming back to the subject that we have here at the continental level, we should have more and more access to market data intelligence. In terms of struggle that populations have, and see how we can accelerate the solutions for those struggles. And this is why startups are really important for the continent. It's not a buzz. It's just that when you support startup, the number one thing that you will look for is if that startup is solving a real deep problem and impactful. And then what makes it a startup is that he can solve it and then do it at a scalable manner. Because our problems are scalable problems. And then this is one thing, access to market intelligence data. The second thing for me is access to data. We keep saying it, but the problem we have we don't lack data. Many of the data are analogical; they are not digital. So, and I don't think any country can solve that alone. We should have collaboration about that and help entrepreneurs access to as much quality data as possible. And the two last thing is access to compute, and also access to funding and I just want to finish by doubling down on what Natalie was saying about achieving concrete things, and I hope and I hope to be here next year, as she put it, at the GAICA 2026, with some really concrete actions that have been done not only by Tunisia, but the whole continent.
Thank you so
for-
much. It was an amazing conversation for this closing panel of this huge event. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Innovation City and all the organizer team for this beautiful event. It was a pleasure to speak with you. So we will do a group photo. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for this great conversation and this great panel. And now let's start the closing keynote with Mr. Anas Rushdie, CEO of Innovation City. Vision of 2030, Africa as global leader in sustainable AI. Welcome, Mr. Anas, to the stage.
Thank you. Hello everyone. Thank you very much for being here with us in this first edition, the GAICA, the Global AI Congress, edition Africa 2025, which we hope that will become effectively an annual event. We are very grateful for our speaker. I cannot mention everyone because there is at least 70 speakers who participated with us in animating this event. We had amazing keynotes. We had also very interesting panels where we discuss very important subjects, strategies, but less trends, the new technologies, etc. So thank you for all our speakers first, and then also we have to thank our partner, our sponsors. I cannot also mention everyone because there is a lot of support that we get for this first edition. So thank you for our partner, our sponsor. And then also I have to thank all our visitors, or the participants, the attendees. This is, I think, a very interesting moment in Tunisia business life. Such huge event, 3-day event about this new technology. It's not new in terms of research, but new in terms of business. And this event had to be a connection between technology, business, and also startups. So we had a challenge, a competition. We had how many startups? Marwa, help me. Great. So 100 startups participate to this event, and at least I think 15 startups participated to the challenge. So this was amazing because we had to see the pictures of the startups. The startups, some of the startups were very, I mean, in early stage. Other had even investors and funds. So this was amazing to see all those intervenants and all those actors of the ecosystem together in the same place, in one place. So thank you for all of you. I have also to thank my team and Marwa, in the Marwa, Nahla, Samar, Basma, Fahmi, Aya. Who else? I don't see all of the team, but thank you very much for this commitment to make this event a successful event. I have to thank also Mr. Hisham. He is the true innovator. He is the hero here because he gave us all the liberty, all the freedom to do whatever we want. So thank you a lot, Mr. Hisham. So without this freedom to do, I mean, to make the choices, to make very hard choice, financial choice sometimes, and he assumed all those all those commitments. So thank you very much, really, and we not only we appreciate the collaboration, but we are very grateful for this. Really, you are the hero of Novation City. Yes, big applause for Hisham. Okay, so what I want to do is just to invite Anavid. Where is Ahmed? Ahmed, you're here. Okay, so with our partner Anavid, we organized the 15 and the 16 November hackathon with 120 students. They develop solution based on artificial intelligence to, let's say, answers to some, they develop some solution to answer some thematical, let's say, issue in the agri-tech, for example, sector, in the health tech, also in the tourism, I think. So Ahmed, please join me because we want to celebrate this new, I mean, this those students, and celebrate also the hackathon.
Thank you, Anas. First of all, thanks for Novation City for this collaboration, for all the team of Novation City and all the team of Anavid, because we did some specific hackathon, because we bring some thematic, as said Anas, some problematic to be resolved by computer vision. So computer vision is resolving with AI and with the existing video surveillance camera some problems and to get some insights from those camera. So we challenged, as said Anas, more than 100 engineer or student engineer, and we gave them dataset computing from NVIDIA, and thanks for Novation to have this interesting collaboration, because we bring them dataset, supervising, and we challenged them during 24 hours to prepare and to develop solutions, and not only that, to pitch that solution in front of a jury. The quality of the delivery, it was very, very impressive. And thanks for all students. And of course, they learned a lot of things, not only coding, data science, computer vision, but also pitching, presenting, sales as well, because they try to sell their solution. And thanks for École Polytechnique de Sousse, because they helped us to supervise. And Madame Hind, she learned them, or she trained them to pitch very well the solutions. Now it's the moment to announce the results and call to the stage to receive their awards. It's the moment. Let's go. And
So all the prizes are equal. We have 5 prizes, I think. We have 5 prizes. So the first team. Vision X. See Shem? Okay, we'll see that. So Vision X for the Counter Efficiency Award. Bravo.
Just to explain to the audience, Counter Efficiency Award, it was about calculating by computer vision the number of people around the counter and how much they spend to be served. And of course, all thematic or based on the existing video surveillance camera. So we don't need to change hardware.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you, Novation City. Thank you of all my team. Thank you very much.
Smart mobility. So for the Smart Mobility Award, it's for the team called 5 Pickles. I called someone from École Polytechnique to join us in the stage. And Madame Hind. Just, I didn't explain the smart mobility. It was about recognition of the plate of the cars. And they did a great work to identify and recognize the plate. And all the software has been developed and showed for the jury. And now, for Smart Service Awards, goes to DataWave.
So the next team for Customer Flow Awards, Young's Lab, Young Labs.
The award for the Q Intelligence Award goes to Nova Mind. أمين في بالي ماشي دائما بعمل برا. Okay. Will you keep innovation في الموضوع أمين? So, thank you very much, and thanks for all people helped to organize that hackathon. I invite the supervisor that helped us to supervise the participant. I call the Novation City team because they did a great work to make it happen. And I invite Amin Abdel Khalaq, the CEO, CFO of Anavid, and he did a great work to organize and to make it happen, because it was a real challenge to organize a successful hackathon. See Hisham? See Hisham? All the team, all people worked, they invited to the stage. Eya, n'est pas là. Eya, il est là. Merci. Merci à tout le monde.
So thank you very much, Ahmed, for this collaboration, successful one, and hopefully we will do other successful collaboration. So Anavid was one of our incubated and then accelerated startup, and now it's a real champion of artificial intelligence. He have customer in USA, in UK, in Tunisia, of course, and in France. So it's a real success story of Novation City and in Tunisia, of course. So some applause for Ahmed Shari, the founder of Anavid, and for Anavid. Okay, so the usage in such event conference is to highlight, of course, the 3-day of the conference. So I will try to do it quickly. So the first day we opened with Mr. Hisham, Mr. Nauman Fihri, and the Minister of Technology, Mr. Sofiane Hamisi, and Mr. Tariq Triki. So the highlight is that we want together the public sector, the private sector, to highlight and to anchor Tunisia as a hub in Africa, as a hub of artificial intelligence in Africa. And then we had a film, let's say a small movie for to show the roots of intelligence and reminded everyone of Africa's deep scientific heritage. We had then keynotes. So Ms. Islam Raqiq highlighted inclusive research-driven artificial intelligence, and then Ms. Amna Ajmal focuses on leadership, courage, and responsible governance in the artificial intelligence era. We had then a strategic panel with Ambassador Philippe Thigo, Ms. Alexia Amicia, Mr. Bilal Chabou, and Mr. Ndeye Maimouna Diop, emphasized African compute, sovereign data, national AI center, and protecting African language in the AI models. Successes by Mr. Karim Bagir, who delivered a major moment outlining Africa's roadmap. Sovereign GPUs cluster is mandatory to develop artificial intelligence in Africa. He also focused on African LLMs, open AI ecosystem to secure cultural and digital sovereignty. We had fireside chats about agri-tech and food security from Hassan Guillet and Dia Mikebe, who showed how AI can boost yields through climate prediction, soil analytics, and farmer support tools. In healthcare, Ayman Shakhari, Sam Khalil, Warren Lafleur, Ghazi bin Uthman, and Bahram Gandashi highlighted fragmented data and showed how artificial intelligence diagnostics and telemedicine can transform care access. Sam Khalil returned with a keynote explaining how AI agent could become Africa's great equalizer across key sectors. And the day closed with an infrastructure panel featuring GSMA, Ooredoo, Deloitte, the World Bank, and NVIDIA, all agreeing that Africa must invest in modern GPU, AI factories, and 5G ready infrastructure to compete globally. In the day two, today, we opened with a fireside chat led by Muaz Haj Ahmida with Babakar Biran and Natalie Rafil, highlighting AI cybersecurity and youth empowerment as drivers of Africa's future workforce. Ms. Samia Shelby then showed how artificial intelligence is transforming 3D worlds, gaming, XR, and digital twins. The responsible AI panel with Ms. Nozha bin Jam'a, Senda Boukev, and Dr. Andreas Reinecke stressed ethics, trust, and shared responsibilities. Keynote from Gerard Olissa Ashar, Shayma Ghribi Mishtri, and Marzouk Kamal covered AI in cybersecurity, AI for telco and 6G, artificial intelligence role in Africa's economy and educational growth. An open collaboration session with Farah Tata Barika, Thierry Jourquin, and Ghada Al-Khayat on phased open models, open data, and shared compute in Africa. Panel 7 with Hatem Haddad, Iman Ghidawi, Florence Kinua, and Daniel Brumont focused on digital sovereignty and public digital goods. Mr. Arsan Abdou Ali introduces embodied artificial intelligence and robotics, and Umayma Anizi led a major ecosystem panel with Babakar Biran, Nathalie Rafil, Uwem Kapan, Hangyu Li Song, and Frederic Duffy about strengthening Africa's tech connectivity. So we are really grateful for all our speakers for the enrichment of this event. And I think as some of our MVT today didn't see the opening video, so especially Mr. Hisham who asked it many times. So I think it's time to, let's say, imagine what Africa should be in the future. And of course, we have to start working and planning how should be Africa in the future. So the planning is already started with GAICA 2026. So hopefully we will see you very soon in May 2026. another freedom that Mr. Hisham give us. And of course, please, we view the video, and then I will ask Mr. Hisham to say the closing words. Thank you very much.
From the desert gardens of the ceiling to the geometry of the Nile, from the hundred instincts to the poet's song, Africa was not just a cradle of life, it was the cradle of thought. We counted before we wrote. We healed before we were conquered. The scholars of Timbuktu wrote of stars and medicine. The builders of Egypt calculated the impossible with sand and shadow. In Carthage, strategies were drawn that still echo in academies today. Knowledge was not a luxury, it was survival. Curiosity was our weapon. Every drawing has an algorithm of rhythm. Every pattern intent for Berber mosaic, a code of memory. Intelligence was never new. It was born. The thinkers of Africa did not wait to discover. They created discovery. Knowledge was not a miracle. It was a habit. An act repeated until it became civilization. They built the foundations not of kingdoms alone, but of logic, of architecture, of mathematics and medicine. In the hum of trade, in the quiet of libraries, in the pulse of thought, the mind of Africa grew, unbroken, unending. Through every generation, the same fire passed on. The world called us primitive while using a national name. The stars were sharp, the numbers were tall. But even in silence, the African mind whispered. It relented, waiting patiently, seeing the drop ground waiting for the rain is coming. In the glow of sweetness, in the rhythm of courage. The drums of Africa sound again. Not of battle, but of creation. From Tunis to Kigali, Nairobi to Accra, Lagos to Cape Town. Young minds are translating curiosity into computation. They build languages for machines, but their purpose is profoundly human. To heal, to connect, to feed, to educate. Passed from hands that carved in stone to hands that write in light. The questions remain the same, only the tools changed. They said research belongs elsewhere. They said technology is important. But the code now carries African fingerprints. In Lagos, a scientist trains AI to detect diseases from a single image. In Dakar, a team predicts harvest using satellites and mathematics older than the pyramids. In Tunis, in Nairobi, in Kigali, students build a future on laptops, sometimes with unstable electricity, but with unstoppable minds. Because intelligence is not a resource to be mined, it is a fire to be lit. And across this continent, the fire is rising. They said intelligence was imported, but the evidence is here. In every lab, every hub, every mind refusing to wait for permission. The world looks to the future for answers, but the future is looking back to the place where intelligence began. Artificial intelligence is not only about machines, it is about memory and imagination, about how we decide to use power and for whom. Africa has known pain and therefore understands empathy. Africa has known scarcity and therefore understands value. When we teach machines to think, we are teaching them pieces of ourselves, our humor, our patience, our resilience. If the next intelligence is to be truly human, it must carry the wisdom of this continent. Our story has always been about vision. Hannibal, the tactician who saw beyond the battlefield. Mansa Musa, the emperor who understood that wealth is not gold, but knowledge. Habib Bourguiba, the reformer who built a republic on education and will. Nelson Mandela, the leader who proved that freedom is a collective. These were not myths. They were the architects of what we are today. Their voices will speak once more, to remind us who we are and who we will become. From warriors and scholars to scientists and coders, the African mind has never stopped thinking. The world watches Africa rise again, not as a story of poverty or potential, but as a story of purpose. Because intelligence began here, and its future will be written here. This is our moment, our generation, our responsibility. The world is entering an age of intelligent machines, but Africa is entering an age of intelligent humanity. GAICA, the Global AI Congress for Africa, is where those paths meet, where innovators, dreamers, researchers, and leaders come together not to follow trends, but to shape them. This is where Africa's intelligence reunites, rises, because Africa never stopped thinking. And now, Africa never stops rising.
اسمي أنيكي هانيبال برقا لوجد ثبايوت شلقرت حداشت هأرت شلي بنيي قريم بعلي قريم يدي أو مالك جوكربيرك شقرت حداشت بل ثموت يا علوم نفتي إتكم
نية منسى موسى مالي بلا بلا مسكي أنك بنيا أنك مغوكا نسونديا أنك نفلو تجيب تسانية ولا نجيسوتي أنك نفلو تجيب هذا مادن نين كاليكلا نين نيكلا تشيسيري لين آنيمو أنك تاني حكيلي تجياني دوغاوية.
Souvenez-vous, في خطابي عام 64 قلت لكم la seule vraie richesse est le cerveau tunisien. قلت لكم ونزيد نقول لكم المادة الشقمة هي رهان المستقبل. التقدم يجيب الإرادة بالعلم والعمل.
Remember, when we are united, we can achieve the impossible. None of us working alone can reach success. Together, we will